know?
He is the nicest.
Yeah.
Most people. Oh, okay. You want a crazy ass Rudy Starzo story.
Yes.
This is how cool he is. He calls me up.
Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Border City Rock Talk. We get great news, great interviews, great interviewees with sometimes a comedic touch. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and just hit it now, guys. Hit the subscribe button, let that algorithm do its thing. Today, I've got somebody very interesting. He's not a rock star per se for this channel, as you know, but he's a rock star in my eyes because I grew up listening to a talk show legend named Art Bell. And then when Art passed, I started to follow different people, Richard Serrett, George Norrie, and I've also listened to Jimmy Church from Fade to Black. Today I've got Jimmy Church from Fade to Black, and I got to ask you one thing, Jimmy. It shows that you died in 2010. Wait.
I did.
Oh, that was the singer.
Yeah. I'll let my family know. Keep them up on things. But no, I'm alive and well. I'm alive and well. And thanks for having me. Here's the crazy thing about what you just said, and then we'll move on. I did the same thing that you did, and the fans out there that follow this stuff. I listened to Art Bell,
Yeah.
from show one. I lived across the street from the Coast to Coast studios, and I knew somewhere in my bones that I was going to follow my bliss, and this is what I was going to end up doing.
Right.
And I felt that I was going to end up hosting Coast to Coast. And this was just
Yeah.
my mind working. And I knew that I could look out my windows and look at the Coast Studios. And so that was always on the back of my mind. And as my career, started to do its thing, I went in and sat in for Art Bell when he left the air on his network. And shortly after that, George Norrie reached out to me and asked me if I would like to come over and host Coast to Coast. And for a minute there, here I am, just a fan, right? I'm
Yeah.
just somebody that's investigating all these conspiracies and UFOs and life after death and ghosts and all that, time travel.
And stuff that
And
actually comes true 20, 30 years later, right? A lot of it.
well, yeah, exactly my point. And so I found myself in the position of working not only with Art, but with Coast to Coast at the same time, and Fade to Black. And I was like a kid in a candy store. And how many people on this planet can do that? Well, the answer is none, one,
Yeah.
maybe
Handful.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was right there, and it was so exciting for me because I enjoy not only Art and George, but before that, Long John Nebel, who was just amazing out of New York, and he ran his show for like 30 years, and on WOR. And the ideas that were presented were things that I wanted to do, but I wanted to bring me into the picture
Hmm.
where I have a music background. I have
Right.
an entertainment background. I play guitar, obviously, right? I play guitar.
Hmm.
I produced a lot of bands, and I had all of my rock star friends. And so, if there was a way to bring music, and I wanted to do like two or three things. I wanted to talk about UFOs. I
Hmm.
wanted to talk about Dimebag Daryl, and I wanted to talk about street tacos. And if I could do all three things in a
Yeah.
show, that was me, and that's who I am. And
Yeah.
I was able to do that. And I think that now, I've been doing this long enough that people know, what drives me, what
Yeah,
excites me, and what is going to carry a show. And hopefully they're going to get all three things. Maybe some comedy,
yeah.
some movies, and things like that. But that's who I am, and that's what I've attracted. My audience is kind of just like me.
For sure. And one of the big names people know in the ufology forum is Tom DeLonge, but I saw a picture of you with and I'd interviewed Wendy Dio. Were you close with Ronnie? Or was that just a
Uh,
photo op somewhere? I
uh,
didn't really look into it too much.
well, if you go to my Facebook page, like my oldest selfie, right, that I ever took is a selfie of me and Ronnie in the studio.
Yeah.
And that was when he was recording Slaying the Dragon.
Mm,
And yes, so the short answer is yes. We both lived in Sherman Oaks together. And back at that time, let's talk some rock and roll for a second,
for
if
sure.
we can.
Yeah, we can.
The neighborhood that I had in Sherman Oaks was insane. In the neighborhood, like my neighbors, I had a studio with Rudy Sarzo, who lived a block away from me. And we
Yeah.
had that studio for maybe 8 years, producing stuff and things. Frankie Benali lived up the road. Doug Aldrich lived around the corner. Ronnie Dio lived up the street. And so and I could continue with
Mm-hmm.
what was in that neighborhood. And
Yeah.
we were all friends. We all worked together, and if there was a way to get things done, it was a small family, and we just did that. So Ronnie um, got wind that Doug and I were working with each other, Doug Aldrich, and
Yeah.
and I walked into my house one day, and how cool is this? My phone's ringing, landline, and I pick it up. Hello, hey Jimmy, it's Ronnie. Right? It's like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And
Matter of fact.
and he had asked me. He said, "Hey man, Doug Aldrich." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'd like to talk to him." And can he set that up? I said, "Sure." And I ended up doing that. And here's the other part about that is Doug was just in a space in his life where something could happen.
Yeah.
Ronnie was at a spot where he needed a new guitar player, and I'm the guy caught in the middle. And it was, who does? It was like, man, this is so cool. And here's another rock and roll story for
Well, it's caught in the
you.
middle. Was that song written about you? No, no.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. Just might have been. There was this little CD store in Sherman Oaks, and I was in there one day and looking for stuff and I find this Rainbow Live CD. So I'd never heard of this, and I look at it, and there's Jimmy Bain, my good friend. There's Ronnie, and I'm like, wow, okay, I know everybody in this band. This is cool. All right, I've never heard of it. So I buy it. And
Yeah.
I go home. Phone rings. It's Ronnie. No, no. Actually, I called Ronnie and I said, Ronnie, I just found this CD. He's no longer with us. Ronnie, I'm going to tell this story just like it happened. I hope you don't mind. He goes, what
Awesome.
is it? I said, it's Rainbow Live. He goes, what? I said, yeah, it's blah, 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 blah. He goes, I don't know about that record. And I said, well, I have it. Bring it over. So I drive down the street to Ronnie's house. We go in and we listen to it, and he signs it. And he said, "I've never heard this, man. It's really good." Yes. So I had Jimmy sign it, and a couple of others. I think Cozy at that time had just passed.
Yeah.
But the point being that I'm living this rock and roll lifestyle with
Yeah.
all of my friends and getting work done and having fun. But I was also into UFOs. And I kept that part
Yeah.
of my life secret, and I didn't talk to my rock and now all of my rock and roll buddies, they want to come on the show and talk UFOs. It's really great now that they have an outlet where before this subject was kind of
They
taboo.
didn't want to be known as that crazy nut.
I didn't either. I
Yeah,
didn't.
I didn't
And
mind.
now, well, we're all out of the closet now.
Oh
We're
yeah,
all grand marshals in the UFO parade, waving a boa. It's not that big of a deal. But back then it was a bit, it was a bit clandestine. I think that
yeah.
if you were into this subject, you kept, but musicians have this propensity, and this is something that I've discovered. I had always thought about it, but musicians, creative people,
Yeah.
they have an open mind and they go into the zone of creativity, which is, going up to the top of the mountain and getting into this place where creativity happens. A lot of times when they do that, they come off
Hmm.
the mountain and they say to themselves, how did I write that?
Well,
How did I play that?
Bumblefoot told me in an interview that that's called acid.
Yeah, DMT. And
Oh
so
man, you know what? I read the book, Dimethyltryptamine. Did you read
yes,
that book by Richard Strauss? Dr. Strauss?
I haven't read that, but I've had a couple of those researchers and
Yeah.
neuroscientists that
Wow.
write those. But Andrew Gallimore
Yeah.
is really good. I've had him on the show
Sorry, I didn't
discussing
mean
that.
to interrupt you.
Well, but the point we can circle back. The point to all of that is because you have an open mind, consciousness
Yeah.
opens up these windows to experiencing
Yeah.
what some would call paranormal or supernatural, UFOs and ET. And I'm not surprised by it anymore.
No.
It's
No.
just a natural conversation these days that I have with musicians and comedians and actors and people that are creative. They're
Yeah.
open to it. And I've got a million stories from musicians that you probably interviewed
Yeah.
that are comfortable now speaking about these things.
Yeah. So before we start talking about some of your rock star guests, I want to know some of them. So Fade to Black. I know what I know about Fade to Black. For the record, how did that come about, the name? Was it like for the fans watching and the subscribers? Yeah, subscribe, guys. Did it come from the album or
Of
did it
course,
come from,
everybody asks that question. I always know where somebody is coming from
yeah,
when they ask me that question, and normally they're Metallica fans, right? So
yeah,
I get that. The name did not come from that.
yeah,
The name came from a video that I had recorded, an instructional video for a company called Alesis, and Alesis makes music production gear and keyboards and drums and reverbs and all that
yeah,
stuff. And so I worked for Alesis, and I made an industrial commercial instructional video for them. And in the master tapes, we shot till like 4 in the morning. And one of the last takes, or the last take we did, I said, okay. And you could tell I was tired. I had shot for like 20 hours. I said, okay, it's time to fade to black.
Are
And
you
it
serious?
was a running joke in my family. Everybody teased me about it every time I looked tired. Oh, it's time to fade to black. And that's where the name of the show came from.
Was that before
Um,
Metallica's album came out? Like how long was
no,
that?
no, this was 2011.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So have you had any of the Metallica boys on the show?
I haven't. No, I
You
haven't.
might get their lawyer now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, I get that question all the time,
Yeah,
and I have such mad respect for Metallica,
yeah,
and if a fan wants to think that, fine,
yeah,
because you're just chasing, life's mysteries just like everybody else, and so if that inspires you or if that's what you think, that's fine. That's actually why the title is there, fade to black, because it could mean just about anything that somebody is trying to get answers to questions and
right,
they stumble upon my show. The show has gotten to the point where it's big, right? I understand
right,
that.
right.
I'm not naive. It's a big show. I'm able to do what I want with the guests and the questions and things. I have that freedom. but because it is what it is, it attracts people will come to it because of the title and
Right,
maybe,
right.
yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm
Yeah.
totally cool with it. Totally cool with
Well, I
it.
just looked up, I guess Fade to Black. I thought there was a movie or something, but I thought there was something history-wise that Metallica got it from, and it was something in the early 30s or 40s. But actually,
Right.
just
No, that is
JC,
true.
sorry,
That is true. I think it was one of the early Lon Chaney movies or Bela Lugosi that
psychological
had
slasher film,
right, right.
1980.
Oh, there were it could have been,
Well, before
but
that
there was
too.
something in the 1930s, 1940s called Fade to Black. Yeah.
Oh wow. So the fade or not thing, I love. And this is I'm telling you, with the conspiracies and all that stuff, I know my opinions do change. And with the moon landing, okay, you got knots, astronauts, right? So what are your thoughts on the moon landing be true, or it was a government set up a hoax for
Yeah.
political reasons?
My short answer to that is I'm on the fence.
Okay.
I can go either way with it because there is pretty strong evidence in both directions.
Yeah.
My thing, I'm of the age where I grew up in the space race and the astronauts, and I watched the moon landing live,
Right.
like the rest of the nation and the world did. I did all of that stuff, and all the young kids growing up had their favorite astronaut,
Yeah.
and it was just part of America. All right, so
Mhm.
I went through all of that,
I like
and
George
then
Jetson.
yeah, George Jetson. I've got a Jetsons T-shirt. That's one
Do
of
you?
my
Right on.
favorites. It's got a couple holes in it now. I wear it too much. But I went to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington D.C. and the Mecca, right?
Mhm.
You got to do it once, and I did. And they had the Apollo 11 capsule there. So I walk up to it, and it wasn't quite what I expected. And I look in the door, the hatch is open, and I looked in and I packed up. My first thought was, there's no way that this rinky dink piece of tin did that. And it was a weird thought that it was like, it's impossible. There's nothing in there. There's switches and, but there's no like
Wasn't there
technology.
that one switch and above it said made by Mattel?
Yeah, China, made in China. And I'm looking and I thought, this isn't safe. This
Yeah.
went to the moon and came back. It looked thin. It just so then I backed up and went, huh, maybe this moon hoax stuff, this Apollo hoax moon land, maybe there's something to it.
Hmm.
And then so to add to all of that, this is why I'm on the fence. We are struggling with all the tech that we have right now to go
Yeah.
back to the moon. But yet we
That's
did it in 1969.
that is one of the reasons I don't think they did, because I know when you conquer something, especially like that and space race and having put something on it, rare earth. I thought to myself about 15 or 20 years ago, after I'd watched all the people say that they didn't go because of this lighting wasn't accurate, this wasn't accurate, there's wind blowing, all this stuff in the video, and they didn't go back for 40 years, and I thought there's no way they would have went back. I actually believe that I would believe that you went to the moon before I think I believe that they went.
For sure. For
Because
sure. And
you're
that's okay.
dedicated.
But that's an honest, objective way of
Yeah.
looking at it. Just take a look at the evidence. And then maybe ET is there.
Well, you know
And
what? You know about the Hoagland and about John Lear, the late John Lear. We're talking about there's these monolithic style huge glass structures on.
again, could
Yeah.
be. Um, I, I what I struggle with all of that is when we think about how we conquered everything, the Van Allen radiation belt, and
Yeah,
the
that too.
astronauts made it and came back. Well, there was a press conference about 6 years ago that NASA did, and I watched it about the Artemis mission and going back to the moon.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, we're going to do the Artemis launch this February. We're
Right,
launching 4 astronauts, and they are going to, February 5th is the first date. February, March, April, we have 3 months
right,
of possible launch dates. 4 astronauts are going to orbit the moon and come back. All right.
right.
And that's the Artemis 2 mission. Well, in the press conference from 5, 6 years ago, one of the NASA engineers, project director, says into the microphone these words. Well, when we can figure out the radiation issues and how to get through the Van Allen belt and we overcome that, then we'll start mission planning. Now, wait a
Right.
minute.
Yeah,
You overcame that in 16. I saw the capsule
yeah,
that went through the. So now it's a problem. Why is it a problem if we did it with 1969 tech? Why is
yeah.
this an
With
issue? So you
computing
add
instead
all
of
of that up, you
yeah,
just add it all up. You're just like, did we go or not?
yeah.
I'm on the fence. I can go either way. I think there's strong evidence for both. To pull it off, here's the other thing before we
Hmm.
move on.
Yeah.
When people bring up one of the obvious things, how can you keep something like that so secret? There's 100,000 people employed in the
Well,
Apollo program, and different manufacturing. We have the training, we have the logistics, we have the launch sites, we have Cape Canaveral, we have Houston, we have Huntsville, Alabama, and there's no way to keep this secret. Well, the Manhattan Project was kept pretty secret, wasn't it?
MK
And
Ultra
it
for decades.
that if you need to keep something secret, it will be kept secret.
I believe that.
Yeah. So is it possible? Again, the evidence is strong on both sides. One day we're going to find out, and whatever the answer is, we're going to be okay with it. But
Yeah,
we'll see, won't we?
for sure. I like your shirt.
Frank Zappa. Yeah, yeah. Thank you
You
for
like
that.
mine?
What when I was growing up, I was a huge fan of Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, back in the day, and I'm talking about the mid 70s here,
Yeah.
76, 77, 78, and what was happening at that time. I was just knee deep in Led Zeppelin, of course, and
Mhm.
knee deep in it. And then somebody turned me on to this album, Roxy and Elsewhere. And I listened to that and I thought to myself, this is the future.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the coolest thing ever. And I really got it. I met Frank eventually, but I really got into all things Zappa. And then when like Joe's Garage came out and some other things, I
Hmm.
went to go see Zappa on tour in Bloomington, Indiana. This would have been 1981. And I saw two shows back to back. Yeah, I think he played two shows a night, or it doesn't matter. I saw him twice at Indiana
Right, right.
University, but he had a guitar player, and I'm sitting, I'm sitting there. I'm like in the 10th row, and it's Steve Vai, and I don't know Steve Vai. I'm watching this guy boing 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 jumping, doing his thing,
Yeah,
jumping
yeah.
on stage, spinning around, playing these impossible Zappa licks. And I left that show going, there's no reason for me to play guitar anymore. I'll never be that good. And then it turned
Possibly.
out to be Steve Vai, and I'm a huge, got a couple of Steve Vai guitars right there.
Oh,
And
nice. Yeah.
yeah, and I whew, really went down that Steve Vai rabbit hole, and I've never left. By the way, I've never
Yeah,
left.
he's got an advantage though. You ever see his fingers? Well, I'm sure you've met him. They're like that
Yeah.
long.
Hmm.
He
Yeah,
can
yeah.
play the first and the 13th fret at the same time.
And you know what he's really into? Aliens.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean, yeah, on his solo albums, he does, yeah, for sure. For
Alien
sure.
Love Secrets. It's a
Yeah.
great album, by the way. That's one of
What
his albums that doesn't get the recognition that it should.
is that off of Passion
Uh,
and Warfare?
and no, Alien Love Secrets is the
Oh,
name of
that's
the
the album.
album.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got Bad Horsey on it, and Tender Surrender
Yeah,
is
yeah.
on that. But such a great album. And okay, so here's the rock and roll circle of Sherman Oaks. When that album was being recorded, uh, Doug Aldrich's band members, I was engineering and working on a record with Doug, and was Chris Frazier and Ian. I'm trying to think of Ian's last name. Were Steve Vai's bass player and drummer.
Okay.
So we were recording at Doug's house and getting that album done, while they were also working with Steve at the same time. And
Mm.
again, just that Sherman Oaks, right? Everybody just lived right there, and
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. Everything was always, that Kevin Bacon, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
You get around me or a few of the musicians there in Sherman Oaks, and it's just you're 1 degree away. Down the street is 5150 Eddie Van Halen's studio. It's right there. It's right there on Coldwater Canyon, and which is where Doug lived. And so, yeah, it's just this small, very incestuous musical community where everybody was there to support each other.
Yeah, I mean, I've interviewed quite a few musicians out of the California circuit, but LA circuit, and it's so interesting to find how tight everybody was that became successful in a in a state of 30 million people.
Here's the thing with that. Most of the the big stuff that happened was by accident. The and I'm talking, if you go back to 85, 86 on the Sunset Strip,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
everything was happening at the same time. So
Hmm.
in some club you would have Guns N' Roses, and in another club you would have Poison, and another club Warrant
Hmm.
on the same night, right?
Yeah.
Great White, right? On the same night. And that was just Tuesday night on the Strip, Friday night on the Strip. It was all, but those bands and all of us to this day, we're all friends. We all talk and hang out. But back then,
Wow.
we didn't know what the future was. It was just the Sunset Strip, and we were just doing what we loved, which was playing music and flyering Sunset Boulevard, right? And trying to get some people out to the shows. What ended up happening with Guns N' Roses? What ended up happening with Poison and the success of things like Warrant and Great White, to have this thing just blast out of nowhere. Well, these were musicians that were living the dream, mostly dead broke,
Yeah.
where we're supporting each other,
Yeah.
trying to survive the week, right? Find something to
Yep.
eat, dig up money for a rehearsal studio so we could go and turn around and play a show on Thursday night. And we were all, it's funny now because when we look back at all of that, the Sunset Strip seemed bigger than life, and it was certainly, and in the view of with the eyes of the nation looking at MTV and all of that. But really, you had the Rainbow. Next door was the Roxy. On the other side of that was Gazzari's. Down the street was the Whiskey. A block in the other direction was the Troubadour. Further on down the street was Club Lingerie and Exposure 54. And
Hmm.
that was it. It was very, very small, tight area
Right.
that we didn't know at the time that we were going to change music and change the world. We were just, doing our thing with, some spandex and some Capizios and maybe a little
Yeah.
Aquanet, but
Parachute pants.
uh, man, I'm embarrassed. I got pictures.
Um,
I've got
so,
pictures.
so you like my shirt? You recognize that?
face the camera. Oh, bang
Oh,
your head.
yeah.
Bang your head. Um, I worked with Quiet Riot, and I met them originally probably in 84, 85. Rudy and I became friends in the late 80s, early 90s, and he's been on my show a few times. I've been on his show, which is
Rudy's
weird
my
that we're,
friend. He's been on my show a few times. He's a great guy.
isn't that it's
He
just
doesn't
amazing.
say no. I don't think I think he's got a speech impediment where the N he can't pronounce it for no.
He is the nicest.
Yeah.
Most people. Oh, okay. You want a crazy ass Rudy Starzo story.
Yes.
This is how cool he is. He calls me up. He says, Jimmy, Aerosmith is playing tonight. I said, okay, let's go. I said, all right. So we get in my car and we drive to Orange County. I forget the venue they were playing at, an arena down there. So we go, we see the show, hang out, band, dinner, all of that stuff. It was great. It was amazing. After the show, we were backstage, and Gene Simmons and whoever, is back there, and we're having a good time. But it's like 2 or 3 in the morning, and we leave and we walk out of the arena, go into my car. The parking lot's empty, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody there. And and there's this kid sitting, there's nobody there. And there's this kid sitting against on the ground, and we walk by him, and he goes, "Hey, Rudy." And Rudy turns to him and goes, "Steve, what are you doing here?" And he stands up and he goes, "It's so good to see you." And Rudy's like, "It's so good to see you. How you doing?" He goes, "Why are you out here in California?" And he goes, "Man, I wanted to come out and see a few
Not Steve
Aerosmith
Lynch.
shows, but no, it's just a fan, just
Oh,
some little kid, some little kid." And so we're
you
walking
remember him?
away. We're walking away, and I
Yeah.
go, "How long have you known him?" And he goes, "Man, I met him with Quiet Riot in 1983 in Wisconsin." What? Yeah, man,
Wow.
and he's always backstage, and yeah, I haven't seen him for a number of years, but I go, "You remember his name?" And he goes, "Of course." That's Rudy Sarzo,
Wow.
and I remember it's like learn, do as other people do,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
was one of the coolest things I had ever seen, and I, you know what? I stole that. I say hi to or I remember my fans' names when
Do you
somebody
know what
comes
my
up.
name is?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But here is that. No, that's not fair. But no, hold on a minute. The the thing the thing is this. And by the way,
Yeah.
cool name, cool show, all of that, and it's Ernest, by the way.
Thank you very
The
much.
thing is with all of this, and I don't want this thought to get away. Whether you're in music or you're doing what you're doing right
Yeah.
now or what I do, we are only here because of fans.
Right.
And that's it. That's
Yeah.
that's that's it. All this behind me and my life, well, that is because I have the support and the friendship and the circle, the family thing of fans. And if somebody comes up to me, if somebody sends me an email, uh, I got a random thing. This is a perfect example. A few months ago, I'm going to be in Virginia hosting this event,
Hmm.
and a fan who I've never met, his name is HH, who's always in the chat, he's always hanging out, but I've never met him. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it. I know his name, HH, right? And we're
Right.
always talking. He loves to talk music and guitars. He says, "Hey, man, uh, if I drive 3 hours to the event, can we take a selfie?" And I said, "Sure."
Right.
So now the event is going on. I let my producer, Michelle, Michelle, I let
Yeah.
Michelle know she's there. I said, "Michelle, HH, if he shows up, get him in, and he wants to take a selfie." Well, he shows up when I'm on stage. I've got 2,000 people in front of me, right? And I'm
Yeah.
on stage. and and I see her walking in with this guy, and I went, "Oh, okay. I wonder." And sure enough, and I brought him up on stage, and I
Nice.
introduced him to everybody, and I took a selfie, and he left. That's what you do. And if there's a
Of
lesson to
course.
anybody out there that wants to do what you and I do, or be an influencer on on YouTube,
Yeah.
selling hair care products, whatever it is, if somebody asks you for something like that, do not blow it off.
Hmm.
You do that because you potentially, one person at a time, can show them the kindness of the world that is actually, that there is really good out there, and you could set the tone for them doing the same thing for somebody else, and then that somebody else will do it for somebody else. And I think that is so important. I mean, for me personally, just to feel like it's not all wasted. You know, if there's a opportunity there to do something like that, do it.
Well, that's the whole thing about life, right? Because I read a lot and I'm reading a book now. I can't it was actually by his name was, oh my God, Tyne. Anyways, Norman Vincent Peale, Positive Thinking. Whatever you say, thoughts and words and just whatever you say, it's energy and it has a ripple effect. And before I forget, I wasn't going to forget, but you beat me to it. Thanks, Michelle Freed, for setting this up. I'm going to be interviewing Darcy Weir about his new documentary on UFOs and paranormal. I'm going to put a couple links below in the description of my Rumble channel where those are going to appear. The interviews on October 15th. So once again, Michelle Freed, thank you very much. I'm going to put a link to her down below. She's got a ton of guests that she, especially in the paranormal realm that she promotes. And so thanks, Michelle. And
Yeah,
thanks.
Michelle's great. She's been with me for a long, long time, and she is, well, not only a professional, because that's why she's with me, but she is very cool.
Mhm.
Has a very powerful mind, and is not only interested in these subjects, but she also studies the stuff and teaches
Yeah,
too as
yeah.
well. And she's really good. And yeah, yeah, she is networked out there, man. She just, yeah, she's great. Love Michelle. I mean, she makes my life so easy. I don't pay her enough. I don't. Michelle, do not ask me for a raise. Do not do it.
Michelle,
Do
can you
not do
help
it.
me work on my hair product line on my YouTube
So
channel?
wait. I wanted to add. I do have a fine line of hair care products, by the way. I won't promote on this show. Where
You
did
can.
Border City Rock come from?
Border City Rock Talk. I used to write for local media, and then I would start. I'll tell you how I first got my first interview. I was going down to Traverse City, Michigan. I live in Canada, right on the border with Michigan, and it's a city called Sault Ste. Marie. Our
Oh
sister
yeah, I've
city,
been there.
our
Okay,
sister city is Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. So I'm
okay.
a border city. So I had a show where, well, not a show, I was writing for a paper and I decided, well, it was an online paper. And my first interview came and it was Jeff Tate because he was going to be playing in Traverse City, Michigan. And I thought, well, I can interview people in the sports industry pretty easy, blah, blah, blah. So I called the venue, Ground Zero, and I said, hey, can I get in touch with Jeff to interview him to promote the show? And I'm kind of promoting myself, promoting the show. So I got that. And then I decided to write and I just one day I thought I'm going to start doing this on YouTube because I'm sick and tired of writing and having phoners with people and then trying to transcribe. So Border City, Rock Talk.
Yeah. Now, so see, this is me being a show host. See how I turn this around? I
Yeah,
turned
yeah.
it around real quick. What year was this?
I've been doing the show since 2020,
So the phone call about Jeff Tate was in 2020,
2019. And I started
2019.
to write more interviews. I interviewed Brian Adams by phone, a bunch of people like that. And I thought, this sucks. I don't want to sit there and transcribe for 4 or 5 hours these phone calls. So
Yeah.
I thought, well, let's not try this YouTube thing. And my first big interview was with Lexi Fox, Steel Panther,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the worst video and lighting. It was so terrible. but we had a great time. And that one's one of my biggest interviews. But since then, my lighting has got a bit better. But that's how it all started for me,
Yeah,
anyways. I'm
right
still
on.
kind of young in it.
It's all a work in progress, but
Yeah,
that's amazing. And when like I just to do this, I was in a dentist office a few minutes ago, and I'm coming
okay.
back from my dental appointment, and no dental work, everybody. I just had
Cleaning.
impressions done. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, but who am I listening to? I'm listening to Take Hold of the Flame, man. You know,
Oh,
and
yeah,
and
yeah. The Warning,
yeah,
that album.
yeah, yeah. Oh God,
Well,
that
my favorite was Rage
so.
for Order, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna go.
Even Operation
No,
Mindcrime.
I'm going. I think about this all the time.
Yeah,
Because Empire was really good too.
yeah,
But the Warning, that that's probably their best work. The other stuff is great, but after the EP, what Queen of the Reich, the
yeah,
first
yeah,
one,
yeah,
which was great, but they were young kids. And then the writing and the production and what happened between that and the Warning, they really got their feet on the ground.
yeah,
And Scott Rockenfeld, the drum sound, the bass sound, that it's just their style was cemented with the Warning and where things went from there. But
yeah,
yeah, the Warning just amazing. And so we're talking about 85, right? I'm
yeah.
guessing here, 84, 85.
Hmm.
And things in the rock and roll world at that time were really blasting out of cannons. You had Yngwie Malmsteen, with
Hmm.
Steeler, and then his first record that's coming out, and the shred phase that started to blow up from that Racer X. And so you had that, and then you had other things that were happening at the same time. Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, in that first
Yeah,
record, and that coming out. David Lee Roth in Eat 'Em and Smile with Steve
yeah,
Vai, right?
yeah, yeah.
So all of this thing was happening at the same time. But I gotta tell you, and Painkiller from Judas Priest came out at that same time. I'm listening to Jeff Tate's vocals, and I thought to myself, he's not human.
Well, he's
And
still
and and
singing like that.
well, he's still got it, doesn't he? And
Yeah,
so does Rob Halford, who I worked for a while, a couple of years. We all admire Rob,
yeah,
and without Rob, there wouldn't have been a whole generation of singers that
yeah,
learned
for
from
sure.
him, and including Jeff Tate, right?
Yeah,
So, but Jeff had this thing that we all love about him, this operatic thing, but this singing to the youth and singing to the future of us and our generation was a profoundly moving experience for me at that age. I was 20, 21 years old. But yeah, I just listened to Take Hold of the Flame coming home in the car. I've listened to that song probably 10,000 times in my life, and it still emotionally wrecks me. It's
yeah.
just so powerful.
Before we get any further, I just want to let everybody know, go down to the links, the description. I'm going to have the link to Fade to Black website where you can make Jimmy rich by buying his Fade or Not shirts. I would like to have a Fade or Not shirt. Anyways, go down and buy the merch,
You've
guys.
got
And check
you've
out.
got you've you've got my email. Send me your shirt
Oh,
size and your address. We'll take care
oh,
of that.
don't worry about that. I've got that on my list. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, thanks, Jimmy. So, what I wanted to ask you, before we go on to something else, Chris DeGarmo, I want to get that guy on my show. And I didn't know if, well, he's a commercial pilot. Well, he's not a commercial pilot. He was flying private planes. Just the intelligence in some of these musicians, when everybody back in the day said they're all into drugs, sex, and booze. Well, maybe they were, but they're smart enough to get into other stuff too.
Yeah. Brian May,
Yeah,
he's an astrophysicist.
yeah,
We landed a probe on the asteroid Bennu, grabbed samples from it, and flew it back to Earth. And it landed in the Utah desert last year, and we tested it. You know how we did that mission? Brian May.
I
Brian
didn't.
May did set up the logistics for that, the landing area, and all that was Brian May.
Is he doing it
When
for the extra money? Because I know he's
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of crunching.
he's tight. He's tight. Yeah, I heard he's looking
Well,
for
actually, Doug Aldridge I interviewed last year. He was living in his car. If after you got to check it out, check out the interview. I interviewed it from his car, and the title was Doug Aldridge homeless.
Oh man. Oh man. I remember when he bought his house. So he was house shopping and he took me over there before he bought it. And it was just literally 2 blocks from my house. So I go over and he goes, okay, it's this and this. And I said, okay, all right, it's okay. He goes, yeah, but this is why I'm buying it. And we walk out in the backyard and there's a pool house. And I walked in and it was actually 2 pool connected together. And the point is, a musician will always see something like that and go, studio, right? That's
Yeah.
the first thing. And Doug's like, man, we'll put the console here. I go, yeah. And yeah. And we ended up cutting so much stuff in there. But yeah. I don't think he's moved out of that house. We packed, Tommy Aldrich came in and cut drums in there. And we packed drums in his drums, this little room next door. But yeah, and Doug is still there. It's a great place and it's rock and roll heaven, man. It's just, he's built it. We all do it. Like this thing, when people come over here and they see what this is, they walk in and it's obvious what is happening here.
Mhm.
It's a musician. You don't come in here and
I thought you were
look
going to say
around.
museum.
Yeah, like here. Okay. See, the
Oh,
guitars
wow.
go all the way down that wall. They come down past me. This camera over here is a little haywire, but you can see
Wow.
they continue down this wall, and then the wall behind me is covered too as well. So you're not going to walk in here and go, "Hey man, hey, you play
What do you
guitar?"
do?
Yeah, no. It just so happens
Yeah.
my show is about UFOs and time travel, but
Yeah.
that's what Doug has done too as well, and I think you pick up that vibe. But back to this, I don't want this to escape. I
No.
remember Iron Maiden's documentary. I think it was titled like 100 Shows in 100 Days, something like that,
Okay.
about their world tour. So I'm not going to miss that documentary.
Yeah.
So am I. And Bruce Dickinson is flying the plane.
Oh, I
And
love that.
yeah. You hear the stories.
Yeah.
When you see Bruce with the white shirt, right, with the captain's
Yeah.
bars, yeah, sitting there with a hat, and you're like, wow. And so he's landing the plane. They're in Sao Paulo, right? They're
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Rio, Mexico City, wherever they're at. They're landing the plane, unloading the stuff, and he's going to a dressing room, right? Think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And he's out on stage that night. Ron, it's just like,
Well,
yeah, it's very impressive.
what was I going to say about that? Do. Oh, darn it. Oh no,
Was it
yeah. Um,
Iron
no, I
Maiden?
mean, like he's so ambidextrous or well versed in, like he was also the alternate for the British Olympics for fencing. But the thing is, when I read about the story about him starting to fly, he was during when they weren't touring, he was taking a job, literally doing a 9 to 5 in the airline industry, and he was flying for whatever the name of the
Is
company
that
that.
true? Is that true?
Well, I mean, he had to get his
Is he
hours.
doing it? Is he doing it because he's bored, or
Well, that's
is
what I
he
think. But he
doing
had to get his hours, right?
what? Oh, maybe that's it.
You have to
Maybe
get your
that's it.
hours. Yeah.
And then, well, at the same time, he's doing his solo band too as
Oh
well,
yeah.
which is in between, the Iron Maiden stuff. And meanwhile, you've got to stay on top of your pilot's license and all of those requirements that are going in.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Astro. I
What
think the company's called Astro Airlines or something like that.
could be. What do you think of his solo work? Because
I
it's
yeah.
more it's more industrial. It's heavy. What do you make of that?
Well, his the Tattooed Millionaire was great. I mean, front cover to back. And the other ones like Chemical Wedding and stuff, I like pieces of it. I love having Yannick with Iron Maiden. Like he's a great guitar player. But I mean, it is a different atmosphere of hard rock. It's not Iron Maiden. It's Bruce and the way he brings music. But as a professional, almost prodigy, it's going to be good. And I like his solo stuff as well.
What about the Mandrake project?
I haven't heard anything. The only thing I know about that is Tanya O'Halligan or whatever. I think she's.
She's amazing.
You friends with her?
I have not met her.
Oh,
So I was out to dinner. Man, am I just gonna start name dropping here? I was out
that's
to
fine.
dinner with Dee Snyder,
Oh yeah,
and
Dee's great.
yeah, Dee's great. And so we're at an Italian restaurant in Sherman Oaks, and uh, and we started talking about her, and and getting into we can talk about musicians, we can talk about drummers and this and that, but when the dinner centers around a phenomenal talent,
Yeah.
it's that what it's not about. It's not a female male thing. It's not.
No.
That just pisses me off when I went.
Mhm.
It's pretty good, for a chick. Not, dude,
No,
stop.
that's not. That's stupid.
I'm offended by that.
Yeah.
I'm completely offended.
Yeah.
But uh, her musical talent and the way that she approaches playing the bass and
Hmm.
her role as that is as gnarly and as musical as anything that has ever happened in the history of music. Number one, she is at a level of mastery of the instrument. It's just incredible. But then, you know what? Throw in those dreadlocks,
I'm just gonna say
throw in
that.
that face, right? Throw in that attitude and her image.
Yeah.
She scares the crap out of me. And Dee and I ended up talking about her for probably 45 minutes. Yeah, she's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah, she's got an aura around her. So I know you've got a show tonight. So what do you got left for time? I don't want to press you.
I'm good for another 10 minutes. Well, yeah,
Sure.
so everybody knows, my show is live 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
So Monday through Thursday. And then each day I also do the news in the middle of the afternoon. And then a couple of days a week, like tomorrow, Thursday, I'll do 3 shows in a day. Today I had 2 dental appointments. I did the news this afternoon, dental appointment in the morning, came home, came into the studio,
Wow.
did the news, went back out for another dental appointment, back here to do this. As soon as I wrap with this, I get with my team. We prep for the show tonight, and the show goes live at 7. We do sound check at 6:30, and I'll be done tonight at 9. And then I head into the weekend. So this
Wow.
weekend I'm hosting an event down in San
Yeah.
Diego.
Tell
I'll
us
be
about
doing
those.
that for 2 or 3 days. Yep. And then turn around, come back from that, and start another week of stuff. And then I fly out this weekend. And what I'm saying is no days off. Then I fly out next weekend to tape Beyond Belief, and I've got to do those shows, and then turn around and come back and rinse and repeat, take a shower, and
Yeah, I
and
know
do
what
it
you mean.
all over again. Yeah, yeah.
And then they'll tell two friends, and then so on, and then so on. Remember that commercial?
It's really true. I've never advertised. I've never advertised. I've never promoted myself.
Hmm.
I haven't mentioned my website on this show. I don't like doing that.
Well,
And
I'll
if
do it. Fade to
people
Black, Jimmy Church
But
Radio Live.
don't do it. Don't do it. If people resonate, they'll chase you down.
Well,
right?
they're going to look
And
in the
that,
comments below, so yeah, they're going to be interested. Obviously, you're fascinating. You're a very radio guy, and obviously video too. But I mean, you've got that voice. So let's talk about. So we got about 10 minutes left, something like that. So, who have you had on your show really quickly as rock stars? And then I want to talk about ghost goblins, UFOs, and things like intuition or stuff like that.
sure. I've had I could go on and on. We just mentioned Rudy Sarzo. I've had Graham Bonnet on the show. I've had Dizzy Reed on the show. I've had Doug Aldrich on the show. I've had Jennifer Batten on the
Yeah,
show. I could continue.
not too bad.
It's
I'm thinking to myself, I'm actually in pretty good company because I've interviewed all those except for Graham. Or
yeah,
wait, I think
Graham.
Tanner.
Graham,
I interviewed his wife,
uh,
Beth.
he came on the show, and I've known Graham for a long, long, long time. All right,
Yeah,
and all of his band members, Beth and me. I've known Beth and me since like 1985. I was her sound guy in a band called Hardly Dangerous that she was in,
yeah, yeah.
and I might have recorded their demos too as well.
Wasn't that the band that she was in? I could be wrong because I'd interviewed James Brown's
Yeah,
ex-wife.
yeah. Tammy Ray. And
Yeah,
so Tammy Ray was the singer. Tammy Ray and I are still close. I've had her on Fade to Black. Yeah.
I've
So
had her on Border City.
yeah. She is Tommy
Yeah,
Ray. I said Tammy Ray.
yeah,
Tommy Ray
Tony.
Brown. And we are talking about a circle of friends that I mentioned earlier about the Sunset Strip, and Harley Dangerous was a big part of that. They were
Mhm.
friends with everybody. Everybody loved them. They were super talented, and there was a lot of talk and things and buzz around Hardly Dangerous, and we expected them to take off. At that time, Vixen was doing pretty good, and a few other bands like that. And Hardly Dangerous was just as good as any of the music that was going on the strip back then. But so that back to Graham Bonnet. So it's so easy to get. I just love the music industry. So
Yeah.
Graham, yeah, he comes on the show and he goes, "Okay, man, let me tell you the story about when I met the ghost of James Dean. That's why I cut my hair off, and I wanted to look like James Dean." So he tells that story, which was pretty incredible.
Wow.
And he had just joined Rainbow. He had long hair. He sees the ghost of James Dean. The next day, he goes out, gets his hair cut off with the James Dean coif, and then shows up at like Castle Donington to do his debut with Rainbow with 250,000 people, and shows up at soundcheck with his hair cut off and giving Richie Blackmore a heart attack. But that was
Yeah.
because of the ghost of James Dean. And that's
Wow.
why I do Fade to Black, and speaking with musicians and creative people,
Yeah.
because they have these experiences,
Yeah.
and they don't have any issues coming on and talking about it these days. He also wrote a song. He saw a UFO on the Pacific Coast Highway riding his bicycle, and sees this light flying saucer out over the Pacific Ocean, turns around, writes a song about it. And I don't know if it was on No Parole from Rock and Roll, or who was the guitar player. But the point being
Yeah.
that I made at the beginning, musicians and creative people make contact. They go into the zone.
So when you were listening to art in Dreamland, and I didn't even realize this, I can't believe it, till a few years ago that he had Area 2000 started it all. Is there a special Art Bell show or two that they're like nostalgic to you? Because I have many. I sleep to Art Bell. I put a show on and I go to sleep
Hmm.
that way.
Hmm. Mel's Hole, that
Really?
sticks
Yeah, I
out.
didn't get much into Mel's Hole. I should actually. Like my thing would be Lorraine Day, the cancer thing. That was great. Travis
Yeah.
Walton, obviously Bob Lazar, but I mean, there's so
Hmm.
many shows. But
Hmm.
the Mel's Hole one.
Mel's Hole sticks out. Mel's Hole. In the early days of Art Bell, he was interested in the subject, but he didn't know a lot about the subject.
Right, right.
And so he was on this learning curve with his guests, which was fascinating to see how
Yeah.
his mind works and how he was going to ask his next question. And I love that about him. But if you go back and you listen to the early stuff, and I'm talking about 1990, 91, 92, 93,
Hmm.
I didn't join the show. I didn't host Coast to Coast until 2012,
Right, right.
2013. But art back then, Roswell was a new case. Yeah, it happened in
Yeah, yeah.
1947,
Yeah.
but the revelations about it and the books and everything that was happening around it, well, this is all new. It was new to the UFO community, but it was also new to art, including things like Area 51 and
Yeah.
Bob Lazar and this very early stuff that was happening. You mentioned Richard Hoagland and Sidonia and Mars and all. This
Yeah.
is all new stuff, and it was a really fun time for all of us to have a huge show like that was carried. You know, he was getting back in the day probably 12, 13, 14, 15 million listeners a night. Some
Yeah.
say it peaked out at 20 million. When I was hosting Coast, we were doing, 4 million a night. And
Mm.
yeah, that's a big audience. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with those kinds of numbers. But back then,
No.
art was all there was.
Yeah.
Today, when I started Fade to Black, it was me, Coast to Coast, and that was pretty much it. There wasn't anybody else doing it. There wasn't any live streaming going on. There was no internet radio. None of that was happening. So I was in a really cool position to host the two biggest shows that were happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Now, today, which I love, there are thousands
Yeah.
of podcasts and choices, and I can't do it all. You can't do it all.
Right, right.
It allows so many people to do the work that can focus on a band, focus on a style of music, focus on time travel, focus on ancient Egypt, focus on
Hmm.
UFOs and current events. I can't do everything, and nobody can. And now there's a whole smorgasbord, a plethora, just a wide choice of stuff that you can go out and focus on. And that's really cool about the internet and the way that social media has started to play itself out, and what YouTube has turned into a news source. And
Yeah.
that's
100%.
incredible that
Yeah.
that's there for whatever you want. An update on I don't know, how to shave your puppy.
Yeah. It's
There's a
there.
show on that,
How
you
to
know.
knit slippers for your cat. It's there.
I watched that yesterday.
Did you
You
see that on
know.
Facebook? That little thing on Facebook? That reel? It was about knitting, but
No,
it
but I'm
showed
sure
cat.
it exists. You know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I've been watching Molly and Peggy or whatever, the bird and the pit bull friends,
Okay, I
and
haven't seen it.
watching. It's just crazy, man. Get sucked into that. So, and
Yeah.
that's the other part about this is whatever you see last, whatever you click on, like the algorithm
Rhythm is going to spin
immediately.
something that's related. Yeah. And
It's
depending on your
crazy.
comment.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
So before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you, have you had Graham Hancock on your show?
Many times.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've done a
I
lot of
tell you.
events with them. A lot
Oh
of
my God.
events and things over the years. Yeah.
I almost had him on my show. I could tell you, and that's a funny story. Hey, it is what it is, right? So I'm kind of green over the years, just getting into how to approach people and blah blah blah. So I got in touch with his wife, right, through Facebook, and she gave me his personal email. So I sent him an invite for the show, and this was a few years ago. And he says, Ernie, I'm going to be on tour for about 4 months. That's how busy he is. So I sent him another email about a week later, asking him to clarify a date, and then nothing. Then I sent the third. He's like, now you're getting on my nerves. Something to that nature. Because no, this is a good thing. I like Graham, and he's a good guy, and we talked about it. But I mean, it was just my little funny story about Graham. Because when I read that, I'm like,
I'm going to leave that right there. I'm
I
going to
didn't
leave
have
that
to
right
do
there.
that for you though.
Yeah, you see, here's the thing. Um,
Yeah, no,
you
that wasn't a
never,
slight to Graham.
no, 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 not at all, not at all. You never know these days when you read somebody's post or read their comments
Right.
or an email where they are coming from. You can't hear their voice. You don't
Tone.
know if they're laughing or if they're
Yeah,
crying. You don't know
true.
any of that stuff. But we, being in our little bubbles, we
Yeah.
read that and we will take it absolutely the opposite of what was probably intended.
We always go
And
for the worst case scenario.
you just never know, and Graham typing something, because I do it too. I was taught a lesson. I was told something many, many, many years ago by one of the leaders in broadcast media. And I'm not going to say who, but think like Howard Stern, right? Think big, think Rogan. And who said to me, "Okay, church, your life is now changed. So here's the advice: don't read your email, don't post on social media, don't read comments, and don't pay attention to anything, critics." I
Yeah.
said, "Well, what do you mean? All of it?" "All of it, for the rest of your life." And truer words had never been spoken. I don't post on social media. I
Hmm.
don't read it. I have people that post for me. It's not an ego thing. It's certainly a time management thing.
Time. Yeah.
But comments are there to throw you off your game.
Yeah.
All right? Don't just I don't care if you're a radio host, a podcast host, or somebody that is just a fan of this. If you turn around and let somebody's post affect you, they got in your head. And now you're going to turn around and respond to that you're feeding what they need.
Yeah.
So just don't do it. If you need to post, if you want to engage in social media, go in with your guard up, knowing that you're stronger than them. Don't
Hmm.
let it affect you. Just
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't get sucked in. You don't know who they are, why they are posting it, or what frame of mind. Just maybe, just maybe, somebody's cat got run over by a car that day, right? And they are that you don't know somebody's dealing what they're dealing with in their own personal lives that
True.
will, you know what I mean, and cause
Yeah.
something that you don't know. And you are dealing with stuff in your own life too, so you see something and it's going to affect you differently. That's the power of social media these days, and we've got to figure out a way every single day to navigate this emotionally and not let it affect our soul and our consciousness and our lives. It's a difficult thing that we are learning day by day right now. Social media is a new thing. It's not old. It's
Yeah.
not. It's brand new. So email is a new thing.
Yeah.
So there you go. Ernest, what a great conversation, man. And thank you so much. Who are you interviewing next?
Well, I've got a few feelers out there. Not even sure. I gotta go back and look. But I do have Darcy Weir coming up. I wanted to just the last couple cliche questions. Thank you very much for your time. I'm gonna upload this in a couple hours, so everybody subscribe and check it out. Great interview. All the links will be below. Jimmy doesn't want to promote himself, so I'm gonna promote Jimmy. He doesn't need it. But Jimmy, since this show is actually based out of Canada, most of my subscribers are 90% American for some reason, 5% Canadian, 5% from other parts of the world. Favorite Canadian band, and not Rush. I get that all the time,
Yeah,
even though they're a great band.
Voivod.
Voivod out of Montreal, La Belle
Yeah,
Province.
Voivod. I love Triumph.
Yes.
I will have that argument with anybody, Rush or Triumph.
Well, the
And
funny thing
before
is they're
anybody
three
goes,
and three.
what? Yeah, I love Triumph.
Me too. I like the
You
crunchy
mentioned
guitars.
Brian. You mentioned Brian Adams.
Yeah,
Brian Adams. Um, change. Listen to a Brian Adams song today. It doesn't matter what it is.
yeah,
If he doesn't stir your soul,
yeah,
right? Lover Boy, Lover Boy, man.
yeah. You ever heard of a
I
band
don't.
called Annihilator?
Yes, of course.
Jeff Waters. I mean,
Yeah. Great band,
not,
great
not,
band. Triumph. When you think about these things, with the different things that come out of Canada, but Triumph was not like anything else.
no.
They had their same thing with all of the acts that I just mentioned. Loverboy is a singular thing,
Hmm.
their own style, and Brian Adams, and certainly Rush, goes right there.
Yeah.
Isn't Celine Dion Canadian?
She sure is. Yeah, she's. But I
Yeah.
think she's more American. I think she lives in Vegas now. But yeah, she's Canadian for sure.
Okay. All right. All right. But I'm I like Celine Dion.
I don't mind
All
her.
unique, groundbreaking
Yeah,
musicians that
yeah,
did their own thing. But Triumph just, for me, was able to do things in their own way, influenced by whoever,
yeah,
but they had their own style.
yeah,
And I just, man, I mean, Gil, just everything about that band
yeah.
was just unique. So I'm going to go Triumph and stick with it.
Right on. And the last question, it's an obvious one. What's the opposite? Hear me on this, Jimmy. The opposite of unsubscribe.
Subscribe.
Everybody do as Jimmy Church says and subscribe, or he's going to kick your ass. Thanks a lot, Jimmy, my friend. I
Thank you,
appreciate the
Ernest.
time. And yeah, we'll have to do this again, maybe part two, and we'll talk more about the aliens and that sort of thing and the ghosts.
We'll take the road where you want it to go. Thank you so much, Ernest.